Welcome to Relationships Through the Looking Glass. While here in Wonderland, we're going to discuss topics and share stories to help clear up distorted views of relationships. We provide a safe place for balance and honest conversation. While each episode can help all who listen, the focus will be on the community of color. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Hey everybody, welcome to Relationships Through the Looking Glass. We are going to be talking about a really interesting topic. All of our topics are interesting, right? But this one, we're going to kind of go a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole and discuss issues that people might have experienced or even might have been on the giving side of this and don't want to talk about it or haven't talked about it. So a little bit of self-reflection might happen, a little bit of aha moments might occur. And we're going to be talking about paying pain forward. Going into a relationship or starting a new relationship when you have not healed from the last one, or making the new person pay for behaviors of a previous relationship and what that can do, not only to the connection, but to the person involved. So we're going to start by going around the room. We're going to start with Marcus and, of course, do our little mental health check-in. Let us know how you're doing, what's going on, and kind of why you feel this topic is important. So starting with Marcus, we'll jump over to Keisha, and then we'll finish it up with Chris. So Marcus, how have you been? What's been going on this week?
I've been having a good week. A little work, a lot of downtime to really think to myself, but I've been pretty good. No issues, no problems. About this topic right here, I feel like it's important because we have to understand, like, if we're unable to resolve things from our past relationships, then it's how are you gonna move on? Because if you bring things from old relationships and you start looking at other people in different ways, then how are you gonna benefit? How's that relationship gonna grow if you keep looking for old stuff from old relationships?
Right.
Feel that way.
All right. So how about you, Keisha? How's your week been? Well, I know how your week's been, but go ahead and let within however you want to let us know how your week's been and why do you feel this topic is so important?
Well, hello everybody. My week has been okay. Had some challenges this week, but overall it's been okay. I think this topic is important because when you're hurting and you're in relationships or you're meeting new people to start relationships and you're still not healed from the previous relationship, you're really not dating with clear lens. So I think it's important to understand the effects of dating when you're dating in pain for the other person as well as for yourself.
Right. All good points. And Chris, how's your week been, and why do you feel this topic is important?
My week's been pretty good. Feel as though, like, far as my schedule and everything, I'm kind of getting back into a normalcy. Far as being able to do some other things that I had previously planned to do. And far as this topic, it's important far as knowing if you're healed and moving forward is like, I mean, with every relationship, there's obstacles and hurdles, and you want to make sure that you're over and through those previous obstacles before you start trying to get over the next one.
Right. And my week, how's been? I don't even know. This week has been extremely busy. I have been tapped out in work-related reasons with doing a whole bunch of trainings. Yeah, if I had to give it a description, it would be just exhaustion. But that's why we have the weekends, right, to sleep. So this topic, I've been on both sides of this topic. I've been the one who has gone into relationships fully aware the only goal was to freaking cause chaos. Like, and I'll be 100% transparent with that. And I'll give more detail as we go into this conversation. And then I've been on the other side where I've been the medicine. I was the one who just made that person feel good while they were going through a situation. So I've been on both, and I'll be able to talk about both. But I do think it's important because it allows people to have the dialogue or the verbiage to explain certain concepts that we might kind of not want to admit to. Like, no one really wants to think about themselves in a negative light or even looking at behaviors that are going on, and you might be saying, well, do I do that or am I doing that? And hearing different examples could allow some people to say, you know what, I am doing that, and make some changes. Because at the end of the day, I would hope most people, and I'm typically kind of cynical when it comes to human behavior, but I hope most people want to do the right thing, are not out here to try to screw people's life over. So maybe sometimes just having something being brought to your awareness, you're able to make a change. So going into the first talking point, I'm just going to throw it out here. What are some reasons why people would go into a relationship when they're still hurting from a previous one? And I know before we started recording, I said that saying where, the best way to get over somebody is under somebody. And Chris was like, what the hell? I've never heard that. But it's a very common saying. So I don't know why Chris hasn't heard it, but I'm glad I was able to educate you on that today, Chris. So, but what are some reasons why people would start a new relationship when they're still hurting? So, Marcus, what's your opinion on that? Or what are your thoughts on why people would do that?
It's like you said, I think some people start relationships to start the healing process. As far as like, if I'm hurting, what I'm saying, then let me go meet out, let me go join, go to the club, let me go hang out, meet somebody new and start, moving on. So it's like a starting point. It's like a move on point. But if you're not, what I'm saying, some people, they do it. It depends on the reason why you're doing it. And if a person is doing it for like a genuine reason, like I'm trying to move on, trying to heal, trying to get past this hurt that I'm feeling from this past relationship, then it's genuine. But then you can also do it as a reason to hurt somebody. Hurt people hurt people. So if you go out there and you like, yeah, if he did that or she did that to me, so I'm gonna go do that to somebody else, that'll be other reason. So that would be one thing that might be happening on that point. So those are two reasons why I think that people do go out and start a relationship, either to heal or to get revenge.
Both on the different aspects too, on the different sides of the spectrum there. What about you, Keisha? What are in your opinion, what are some reasons why people would go into a relationship knowing that they're still hurting?
Well, Marcus, I think you gave a different light on that when it comes down to people dating and getting in relationships just because they want to hurt somebody else. Sometimes people do that. Unfortunately, just made me think, it made a light bulb go off, where people do that. They get to the point where they just don't care. So it's like, I'm just going to do whatever. They're not caring about the next person's feelings or anything. They just want to make themselves happy in that moment. I do think that people sometimes move forward into a new relationship even after getting out another relationship and not healing because they don't want to deal with the pain. The thing about that is when you continue to move forward and not face with your feelings from that relationship that end, you tend to cause layers of hurt. And then eventually you hit that brick wall and you just have to deal with it. And sometimes hitting that brick wall doesn't look pretty.
Right. And Chris, and kind of first before Chris, and kind of what you were saying, Keisha, using that experience to kind of make yourself feel better, right? It's that whole concept of using somebody as medicine.
Right.
When you use medication, you could care less about the medication. You just want the pain to stop. So you take it. But then at the end
Absolutely.
of the day, like there's a whole human attached to whatever actions you're doing. And you karma's for real. And that junk comes back around for real, for real. So it's definitely both examples both of you have given offer different aspects of to what this looks like. And Chris, in your opinion, where would it stand on your kind of viewpoint?
I think a lot of people do it, like Marcus and Keisha said, far as either want to get back at it or to feel good. But I also think it's far as not wanting to be alone. You have a lot of people who they always feel as though they got to have somebody, they got to be connected to somebody, they got to be involved with somebody. And a lot of times they don't give themselves that time to heal. You can have somebody, they might go through a breakup, and within the next week or two, it's somebody else that they're being involved with. And I'm like, yo, you're still like processing what just happened. And sometimes we need that time to get over. And I mean, one, just to kind of sit and reevaluate, hey, what happened? Where did it go wrong? And then, okay, then we can go back and attack it. Now, some people might be able to get over it in a day or two, but I mean, I highly doubt it. Especially, it depends on how long you've been with that person. If it was a relationship of, let's say, 5+ years, I can't see you getting over someone just in a couple days, or even a couple weeks or months. It might even take years to get over that person. So I think it's just far as not wanting to be lonely.
And that's a good example, because in the field I've worked in, I've actually had a dynamic or an identifier to different types of relationships coming out of a toxic or an abusive one. And it would be one or the other. The person will go and jump from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, because they don't want to be alone. They find the person that they just left in another person. So they're dating the same person, just in a different body. And every time I try to explain people that, they're like, no, I'm not going back to him. And I'm like, oh, you're going back to him, just in a different body, because you haven't healed from whatever it is that caused the problem. And then you have the ones who shut everything down, right? I don't want to talk to anybody, period. Like, and that stays for a long time. And even if you try to, you'll sabotage that relationship because you honestly don't want to, or you're not ready to. And that's also another way where we do this subconsciously. For my example, where I was not the best uh person to probably be around, was when I came out of college and away from the relationship I had in college. It was extremely abusive. So when I came out of it, I purposely targeted dudes to cause chaos on purpose. And it wouldn't be through physical interaction, it would be completely mental, like mental freaking toxicity was my game. And I did it well. I did it well. And I was not concerned about the aftermath. I wasn't concerned about the collateral damage, because I wanted every dude who interacted with me to pay for what the guy who just assaulted me multiple times did. And I mean, I'm being very transparent here, but that was my life at that time. So anybody who met me in that time frame would not be in a situation that would be a healthy situation for them. But I'm very honest about that, and I've healed past that. But it's a different kind of viewpoint on why somebody would do that. And you're doing it out of pain. You're doing it out of pain. So when you're talking about that, like, how would you know? How would you know you are the potential threat in a relationship? How would you know? Like I was just saying, when I was doing it, I wasn't concerned about being a potential threat, because I was just trying to freaking get back anybody who came in my way to answer for what happened to me. So I wasn't concerned about being a potential threat. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, and I think that's what it is. It's like, you don't think that you're a potential threat because in that moment, you don't care. It's
Right.
just like, I'm just trying to go see who I can get with, make them feel the way I felt, and just try to, do your worst to them without them even knowing. Because you're not even thinking about that person at the time. You're just thinking about how you felt at that time in that past relationship and how you want to make them feel. So
Right.
there's no care to it. So when it's no care to it, you're just liable to do anything, just to make them get to that point where you feel like, okay, I got them right there, and now I'm about to, disappear, do what you do, ghost, however it may be going. It's in that way. It's just, and that's just like the point, like what I was saying, like earlier, that's that revenge. It's like, I want you to feel how I felt. Because I don't want, what I'm saying? And it's not like a caring gesture, but it's more like, it's selfish at that time.
Right.
And that's just the point. That's just my opinion on that. And I feel like that's just Just the way how somebody might feel during that situation and going out there doing that. And then the person that's on the other end, he or she is just innocent, but you don't care about their feelings. And they're just an innocent bystander. And now they see you in this light that you are in. And whenever you do what you did and cut them loose or whatever, they see you as that and not the real person that you are.
I think the sad part about that is when a person is toxic like that and they meet with someone who is whole, they healed, and they're ready to love somebody. And then you bring that toxic person and connect them with that person. Now you got two broken people. So I think that's definitely something, that's when someone is a potential threat, is when you already know that you're broken and you meet up with someone who can love you in the way that you really want to be loved. And sometimes when people are hurt and broken, they can't see past that pain. So then they tend to pull that person in and then push them back because it's like, oh no, I'm not ready for this. Oh no. So I'm going to push you back. I still got you over there, my eyes on you, but I'm not ready for you right now. So sometimes by the time they get to that moment, you have already scorned the other person with your talks. So, and that's unfortunate for the person who's dating, who is ready to connect with someone. They're not trying to get over somebody from their past or anything. So I think that's definitely like a potential threat to the relationship and also to the individual who really don't deserve this.
Right, right. And Chris, how would you know if you were a potential threat? Like not you can use your own examples if you have any, but if you were in a situation and you've come out of a relationship that was painful, that was hurtful, that was toxic, and you're going into something new, we just gave some examples of people who have an awareness that they're doing it and they just don't care. But what if you have an awareness that you're doing it? What if you have an awareness and you do care about it? Like, how do you maneuver around that? When you see that you're destroying somebody, when you see that you are hurting somebody, how do you handle that? Or what could you do?
I think a lot of it for us nowadays, and it's wild that it's almost like the toxic thing. It's almost like that's the thing now. Everyone wants to be toxic, and it's promoted, and everyone you have people going out looking for those relationships to be toxic. And I'm like, man, why would you do that? Like, you're going into it already knowing you're going to sabotage this relationship. Now, I know I've never been anyone to do that, not purposely. I may have hurt somebody, but not on purpose. But I know it's been times where I felt as though someone who I was starting to date and get to know, and they were like doing things purposely, and it's just I don't know. It's just like weird energy, just a weird vibe that I don't understand it. But also, it's kind of like in today's society, especially in our community, it's like everyone. That's what everyone wants to do is know like true love, and people really want that find that bond, form that bond with somebody. It's like, hey, well, let me see how much I can blow this up, and especially now with social media.
And that's an interesting viewpoint as well, because you're right. Everybody kind of wants to find their person. Because, just look at all the dating apps and just like the matchmaking services that's been out for freaking decades. They had people putting ads in papers to find people, right? Like, I don't know when that was happening, but I know there are songs where people like put it in the one ad or something. Anyway,
Craigslist.
You dating yourself, Michelle.
straight to hell. That's where you can go fast in a hurry.
Well, you gotta look at it though.
What you mean? You know what?
It's not like there's like dating apps or whatever. It is what it is. But on some standpoint, like when you said like, I guess going back to what Chris is saying about everybody wanting to be toxic, but sometimes some people don't know that they are toxic.
That's a good point. That's a good
You know what I'm
point.
saying? So you're out there doing things without knowingly that you're doing it. So if you go out there and be with somebody, and then next thing you know, you just start acting some type of different way, and you see that as a pattern every time you get into a relationship, then you got to start looking at yourself.
And here's a question, like, and this is for everybody. How do you handle it? And I mean, somebody on here might be an angel, absolutely, but I'm going to be very transparent. Like, there have been times where I've realized I'm the toxic one. And it was like I wasn't going into it with the intention of being toxic or bringing chaos or toxicity. But then it would be, okay, why is this not working out? And then I would have to check my own behaviors. And it's like, oh, damn, it's me. Like, I'm the toxic one here. So I'm going to throw that back out to everybody. Marcus just said, sometimes you don't know you're the one being toxic. Has anybody ever been on that side of the fence where you were like, why is this not working out? And then you look at yourself and you realize you're the reason why it's not working out. Y'all be honest now.
I have, but by the time I noticed that I was the one, it was too late.
Right.
So, I mean, that it just leave you with regrets at that point. You can apologize, but sometimes it doesn't fix it.
That's true. How about you, Chris and Mark?
Now, I wouldn't say I'm toxic. I mean, I'm an asshole, but I mean, toxic, no. Like,
wouldn't that like go hand in hand?
No. Being an asshole and being toxic, that's two.
What's the difference, Chris?
Yeah, please explain.
I mean, I'm just an asshole.
I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole.
Your asshole behaviors, though, can breed toxicity. So you're saying that you're an asshole. Now, you don't feel that brings toxicity in relationships? Or do you feel you can have borders? Like, okay, I can be an asshole up until it turns toxic and then I'll stop.
No, now I will say me being an asshole might bring the toxic out of somebody else, but it's not going to make me toxic.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah, but
I would say this. I've been on the end, like, I guess throughout my whole life. I mean, but as far as like in high school or whatever, it's like I did have this one girl, and I really liked her, but then she like kind of like did me wrong. So I turned into something, and then I turned into, I guess, one of them guys is like, okay, fuck it. I just don't want to. I just, whatever I want to do. I don't want to have no relationship. I just want to chill, do what I want to do, and just be with whoever and just keep moving. So I was like that. And then, you run around and you meet somebody that's ready for you and want to be with you, but you treat them the same way you treated like the other people after that significant other that did you wrong. So in that turn, I became I was a toxic person.
I got a question.
The way question?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Finish.
No, you're good. So I mean, from that experience, it's like, yeah, I understood that I was a toxic person and that I created those type of relationships and that I ruined those relationships too. So I understood that I wasn't right at that time.
Okay, so my question is, and this is for everybody, when you're doing this and you just feel like, okay, I'm just gonna do me, I got hurt, are you telling the next person, listen, I'm not dating with a purpose of getting in a relationship, I'm just kicking, or I just want to cut, are you being upfront and honest with these people, or are you just moving forward like in the past? And I guess, Michelle, you said you went through that stage too.
Yeah, but say for me, it was in stages. Like in the beginning, I mean, now keep in mind, I was in my early 20s. Like, this is before I went into the military. So I was in my early 20s when I was like this. And I did not tell anybody because my purpose was to screw people over. I legit targeted certain dudes who had certain behaviors and was like, that's who I'm going to freaking mentally screw over, right? Now, as I've gotten older, I've been very transparent with situations and saying, all right, these are some things I struggle with, or these are some things I'm still working on. But there's not a time I don't feel that I went into something knowing I was going to cause somebody hurt or pain. If it did occur, it was completely unintentional. And I would stand up and I'll be accountable for what I did. Cuz I mean, I've done some really grimy stuff. Like, I'm not going to lie. And some of it has been unintentional, but unintentional doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It's like when you accidentally get shot. I didn't mean to shoot you, but I shot you and it hurt. Like, unintentional still hurts and you still have to deal with that. And like Marcus said, you making somebody else pay for a previous relationship. How do we stop doing that? Like, we're human, so subconsciously there's going to be something in the back of your head saying, well, so-and-so did this, and I'm seeing some of the same behavior, so I'm going to get him before he gets me. How do we stop doing that? Because what you're doing is you could be sabotaging the person that's supposed to be with you, right? So I'm going to throw it to Chris first on that one. Like, how do you stop making somebody pay for what somebody else did to you?
Now, are you saying for as which person?
Like, if you were going into a relationship and you just got out a really crappy toxic one, and you're pissed, you're hurt, you're going into a new relationship and you're seeing some of the same behavior starting to come out, or you're seeing this person behave in a certain way, and now you're starting to act towards this person what you were doing with that toxic relationship. So how do you stop or prevent the new person for paying for what somebody else did to you?
Oh, communication. I know. I mean, I think I talk about that on every single episode. Just as far as communicating, talking to your partner, your significant other, person you're dating, talking to them about how you feel and what's going on. But then also, I think a lot of things that should be done that's not done in most new relationships is discussing the previous relationship. Like, hey, well, and it's called things like, well, when's the last time you had a serious relationship? What happened with that? Not without going into too many details, especially early on, but still trying to figure out, okay, what happened with that? So then you can kind of know, like, the person that you're dealing with, like, okay, this is what they went through in their previous relationship, but also letting them know what you went through. So they'll kind of know, hey, this might be a trigger point for him or her, or, and then they understand that certain things may be a trigger point for you as well. So it's just talking about your previous relationships. And I think a lot of times people, when they have that previous relationship, they just suppress it and they just forget about it. I ain't gonna say no. I'm not gonna say they forget about it. They put it to the side, but it's still there. But they don't. They don't want to. It's almost like out of sight, out of mind. But when certain situations happen, it brings it up and it's like fresh in your mind.
All right. I can see that. And Marcus, what about you? How do you stop making the new person pay for what somebody else did?
Don't start until you're ready. Get by yourself, heal yourself, read a book, change your behavior. Like, you can't really, so I'm not gonna say that for everybody, because some people can move on within a relationship and change their behaviors like that. But some people need to just sit back, take that look in that mirror, see what's wrong with them, and try to heal themselves through whatever means necessary in order to heal themselves from that previous relationship. So you'll be able to go into that next relationship, whole and loving yourself and being able to commit to that relationship. Because if you're not able to, then you won't be able to move on. I just feel like, it's, some people get hurt by doing that when you try to jump into another relationship and you're not truly healed. So you need to sit back, step back, take a look at yourself, do whatever you need to do. Read books, meditate, heal yourself, get to know yourself, and get to love yourself for who you are before you start trying to go into the next relationship to love someone else.
Okay. And what about you, Keisha?
I would say take a break from dating. Just take a break to reconnect with yourself and before you move on to the next relationship. Just to add on to what Marcus was saying.
And I think with that, with what everybody said, there has to be an awareness that you're doing it. There has to be an awareness that you're doing it. If there's no awareness that you're doing it, that's a whole different dynamic, right? And this is for everybody. So what if you're not aware you're doing it and somebody brings it to your attention? You're in it now. You're in it. You're in the relationship. You're full speed ahead. Someone's bringing it to your attention now, be it your partner, be it a close friend, whatever. What is the game plan then?
I think we talked about this in some episodes back. That's where therapy comes in at, couples therapy. So when that happens and it's brought to your attention, you have to be willing to accept be accountable for your own actions and then take the necessary steps to make sure that you go through your healing process. That's why it's important so you won't even get to this point. Go through that process before you move on to the next person. So it's also being accountable. Some people don't want to be accountable, So
you got to stop the bleeding, right? But okay,
right.
so we're saying counseling there, but because we all know mental health and counseling and therapy, it's not the easiest to get into. So what is something else? So and this is looking at it from different lenses. Looking at it from one side, you want to maintain this relationship, you want to stop the bleeding, you want to heal, move forward. And then the other lens is, wow, I'm really screwing this person over, I need to bounce. Where do we fit in that? Like, because at the end of the day, there's another person that's being impacted by what you're doing, right? So
Yeah.
how do you do that? How do you work that angle on both sides? In the ones where you're like, look, I'm screwing this up, what do we need to do? Keisha said therapy, but what are some other things that you guys can think of? Then the other one is, okay, I'm just going to bounce because I'm freaking screwing this up, I need to leave. But understanding that you're impacting a whole nother person. Like where are you in your mindset on both of those areas?
Well, I would say be upfront with your needs. What do you need, whether you're the person on the receiving end or not? Tell that person how it's affecting you. Tell them what your needs are in this. This is what I need from you. That's what I would say for the person on the receiving end of it. The person on the giving end, maybe it's time now to be honest, to let your partner know, listen, I'm still hurting from a previous relationship. I'm sorry if I hurt you. This is the areas, from what you're telling me what you need. I'm going to work on that. And this is for someone who wants to make that relationship work versus just moving on to somebody else just to get over the next person.
I mean, I say to that person, that's just gonna bounce. They bounce for a reason. So, at that point aspect, the other person, I don't know if they need to understand that, or just let it go. And some reasons, where they just bounce is just because they don't know how to say what Keisha said was like, this is how I'm hurting, this is what I need to do, this is the areas that I need. But in that standpoint, you're not that person at that time, in that time frame, in that moment, don't know how to say it. So they just put up, pretty much just bounce or just leave or ghost or whatever you want to call it. And and to the person, to the couple that really want to work it out, therapy might not be, something that you want to do, but sometimes you got to listen to your peers. And because your peers, the ones that's in your interest, that in your best interest, they look out for you. I would say that in my own experience. They will tell you things, and they always got your back, and they will, they see things that you don't see. So, I mean, sometimes it's just like in a fight, you got to listen to your corner. before you step out there into that fight, to deal with other things. So I feel like you have to be aware. You have to listen to your peers at times. I mean, you don't have to take everything everybody says, because you know what's good and you know what's wrong, you know what's right. So understand the information that you're getting and receiving, and use it and make the best judgment that you can make. I feel like in that aspect of that.
Okay. And Chris, what say ye about that scenario there? The couple who wants to stay once this been brought to the attention. I know you said communication, and that's huge, absolutely. But the couple who wants to stay and try to push through once this has been made aware, or the person who's like, oh hell, I'm screwing this up, I'm just gonna disappear and leave. Like, on those different mindsets, like, what are your viewpoints?
Well, I can say, well, this may be a mushroom moment. I'm not going to get off track, but
How many glasses? How many classes have you had? Just okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I'm thinking about what we're talking about. And okay, so what do you do in a situation? And I'm like, when you feel as though, okay, everyone's looking for their person. And then when you know that you aren't the right person for this individual, because what y'all like views or goals, they're not aligned. What they're looking for is not what you're looking for. You just feel as though you are a hindrance, where you don't want to be toxic and you don't want to bring any of that to them, because I mean you want the best for them, and you let them know, hey, like, go find that elsewhere. But they were like, oh no, I wanted to work with you and blah blah. And it's like, well, how does that go when you're just saying like, hey, like, I need to get away from this? What? Yeah, like, I mean, you can see that, not that it's being toxic, but you just like, it's not going to be a good thing for the other person, not so for yourself. You think about the other person, you just want to let them know that. So how do you guys, what do you guys think about that?
So, Chris, you saying like a person that's toxic, but the other person wants to stay in it, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it could turn into a toxic situation. So the person is just letting the other person know, like, hey, look, man, let's just go ahead and end this. Or like, hey, I just want you to find what you're looking for. I can't give you that.
I think that person is attracted to toxicity.
Yep.
So when that person is like that, I mean, everybody, some people, it's just like getting in an abusive relationship, and they feel like, oh, I can save him. Oh, I know he's just right. Oh, if I just keep praying for him, he's gonna turn around. Or if I keep doing this, I keep doing that, what I'm saying, he's gonna be better, or she's gonna be better. But every time you turn around, you got a black eye, or you calling the police, but yet you still want to stay. No, you can't be in there. That's basically, that's you being dumb. You're not listening, you're not being aware, and you're not following direction.
Direction from who?
From your anybody, from your peers, from people that see it, and just know that, hey, you in this abusive relationship, you need to get out of it.
You done jumped into my wheelhouse, right?
I know I have. I know I have.
I'm getting some tension. I'm getting some tension in my chest right now.
This is your baby.
I'm getting tightness in my chest. But on that aspect, like, it's like, and when he said y'all are dumb, he didn't mean that like that. That was the most lovingly. Really he meant it in a very loving way. But when people love someone, I wouldn't look at it as being addicted to toxicity. When somebody loves someone, love is a freaking, that's the most powerful emotion on this freaking planet. Like, I don't care what nobody says. Love will freaking have people doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I just think maybe at times too, one or two things. One, they may see the best in that person. So all the flaws they got going on, they just dismiss it because they're looking at the qualities that's in that person. Or two, you could have two broken people who dating, which is just like a big disaster.
Trauma bond.
Trauma bonds, I agree.
And that right
You know,
there, that's a
and,
beast to get out of.
yeah,
When
and
you were in a trauma
I'm
bond
not.
with somebody, woo! Go ahead, Marcus. I'm sorry.
Oh, you good? Trauma bonds. I just didn't want to. I just didn't. I want to like. Yes, but I wasn't saying like nobody was dumb. I was just saying like I wouldn't take the abuse out of it and just
Back it
put like
up.
a
He's
regular,
backing up, y'all. He's
a
backing it up.
regular. You know what I'm saying? It's a regular type relationship. That way, they doing dumb stuff like constantly cheating or just, ghosting or things like that. Things like that. That's just like repetitive behavior.
There you go.
That is not relationship behavior.
Right.
Yeah. So let's back out of that.
We backing out. We backing out. We ain't talking about
Backing out.
abusive relationships. That's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother topic. But agreeing to what everybody is saying, like, especially what Chris brought up, that's something where you really have to think a thought process, because if you're the other person, right? We're about to flip it now. We're on the other side of the looking glass. You like what I did there? See what I did there? Okay. But if you're the other person, right? You're picking up this person's doing these types of behaviors. You're communicating this, that, and the other. Person's like, okay, I want to work on this. Let's fix it. They still got the same behaviors going, or they're saying, I want to bounce, but you're really wanting to stay with that person. That's what Chris is saying. Like, I don't think there's an easy way to address that. Someone's going to get hurt. Bottom line, someone's going to get hurt. So the question would be, how do you minimize it? How do you minimize it? So if there's somebody listening right now in this situation, either they're the ones causing the pain because of their previous relationships, or they're the ones being hurt. What do you say to them? To each person, what do you say?
I would say to that person that's hurting the person, I would say, like Keisha said, let that person go, release them, and go to your corner, help yourself out, and do better and heal yourself from that process, and do whatever you have to do to make yourself a better person, where you don't go into being a toxic person in the next relationship that you're in. And for that person that's in that relationship, that's receiving, that's on the receiving end, try to be understanding. You can love someone, but love them from a distance, and not have to keep yourself involved with them. So I would let them go, cheer them on in their event, in their endeavor to be a better person, but keep your distance and do work for yourself as well.
And just accept the fact that you are collateral damage. I think a lot of times when people just look at it and just accept what has occurred, that's going to allow movement for either person. It's when people are stuck in denial, when people are like trying to explain it away and make excuses, it's going to prolong it. Like, freaking suck it up, take your medicine, freaking, your collateral damage, it happened, you got to move on. You got to move on. Because staying with somebody who's telling you, I can't be what you need me to be, you're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up. And it doesn't feel good. It hurts. But if this person is saying, like Chris was saying, they're telling you, I can't be what you need me to be, the question next is, if you choose to stay and you were destroyed and you were hurt, whose fault is it? Is it the person who did it? Or is it the person who chose to stay when that person said, I can't do this?
It's the person who choose to stay after that person told you, They're not able.
All right, Chris, up or out?
No, no, it's on the person who, if somebody warned you of something and then it happened, you can't get mad. It's like they told you what was going to happen. Well, not told you what was going to happen. They warned you that, hey, maybe this was potentially was going to happen, and you was like, oh well, no. Maybe they, like I said, saw something in that person. Oh well, it won't. Or the thing is, people say, well, that won't happen to me. And it's like, hey, look, man, like you should have known this was going to happen eventually. So it's almost you, like, I mean, I don't want to say either you're going to hurt now or hurt later, but the hurt is going to come eventually. So I mean, it's just you can't fault somebody for if they told you up front that, hey, this isn't what they wanted, and then once they showed you that's not what they wanted, you can't be in your feelings about that. But as long as they were upfront about it,
I was about to say, what if they're pushing
yeah,
a false narrative?
as long as they were upfront about it, then you can afford the person. But now a lot of times people say actions speak louder than words. So you can have someone to tell you one thing, but then they show you something else. So then that's kind of sending mixed messages right there. If you're telling somebody something, but then you're showing things in other ways, and then you're kind of giving that person mixed messages where they think that, hey, it might be something like that. Now in that instance right there, you can fault the person that end up doing it, because it's like, hey, like if you're going to do this, like you got to do it. It's either all or nothing. You can't be halfway in, halfway out, or be in and out when you feel like it.
All right. So my final question, as we get to an hour to wrap it up, how do you prevent this dynamic? So start with Marcus. Like, how do you prevent it from both sides? How do you prevent being the asshole? Sorry, being the toxic one. And how do you prevent being the one who's going to be hurt? Like, are there any warning signs when you first interact with somebody to say, ooh, this person's not healed, or oh, this person has some work to do? And from the victim standpoint, on how do you prevent it from being the person who's causing the pain? So both sides, what would you suggest or advice that you would give?
From the toxic side?
Both. How do you prevent it from the
Okay.
toxic side and from the
From
person receiving?
from the asshole side. Okay. All right. Basically, I think that person, that themselves will have to know, will have to be aware that they're being toxic. They have to look for the signs of, some people, I mean, listen to your environment, your people around you, your some close friends, ones that really have your best interests at heart. I would say listen to those, because usually they'll say, hey, like I was told today, like, Mark, you got a pattern and you need to change that pattern. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I recognize the pattern. So, you have to, be able to listen to people and take things in what they say for that toxic side. I would say that, as far as like that. And that also for that for the person that's on the receiving end, when you start seeing like behaviors from that toxic person, like things they talk about and used to do and they still do. Like if it's like, say if they were, I'll go off the end. Say if they drink a lot and they said, yeah, I don't drink that much, but yet every time you talk to them, they drunk. It's a repetitive behavior. So if you keep seeing that behavior and that behavior is what it is, then that's your warning sign. That's your red flag. Hey, I might need to leave this person alone. Because if they're gonna keep drinking like this, then ain't no telling what's gonna happen if I'm in their presence if they're like this. So just gotta look for behaviors and look for and stuff. And I say also listen to your environment and what's around you, and and go from there.
All right, that makes sense. How about you, Keisha? How would you prevent this from happening as the one who is bringing the toxicity from past relationships and as the one who might find themselves in the relationship with that person?
Well, if I was the person bringing the toxicity, I would be straight up and let the person know, hey, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm just chilling, going with the flow. I'll be straight up in the beginning to prevent them from getting hurt. If I was on the receiving end, I would trust my intuition. I would ask a whole lot of questions, and I would hope that that person would be honest to tell me, the truth in regards to where the healing process is. But that's how I possibly handle it on both ends.
Which makes perfect sense. And your answer is going to sound a lot like mine. And what about you, Chris? How are you going to be preventing something like this from happening from the toxic side, bringing the toxicity from previous relationships in? And how would you prevent this from somebody who might be going into a relationship with that person?
From the toxic side, it's just like Keisha said, just being upfront with the person, kind of just letting them know, hey, this is how I am. These are things that I've done in the past, and just kind of putting it all out there. And then, I mean, if you put it all out there, and then if the person if they still want to accept you as that, then okay, all right, maybe you can move forward. Now, on the other end, I mean, once someone shows you who they are, you got to believe it. Like, you can't, well, maybe I can.
Are you quoting people and not giving them their credit? Go ahead and quote Maya. Go ahead and quote Maya. You can't be using her.
Man, look, man.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Maya. Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
You talking Maya the singer? No, I was just joking.
Woo!
It was a joke. I was just joking. Yeah, no, but yeah. I mean, I didn't know this was like a paper and I had to cite my sources. But
I'm sorry.
But, no, just like, I mean, you can't change people. And I think that's happened so many times where people want to change an individual to fit what they want. And it's like, you can't make somebody what you want. You need just, if you find the person that you really want. And then that's just as far as, like I said, matching up the same values and goals.
That makes sense. And my input would be, again, like everybody said, being 100% honest. If you know you came out of a crappy situation, like if you knew you came out of a crappy situation and you run right into another one, like, you got work to do. So it's like being honest with yourself. Like, I don't care if you're like, right now I'm good. Like, I don't care about whatever, I didn't do nothing to do blah blah. It's gonna catch up with you. It always catches up with you. And sometimes it catches up in behaviors from other people that trigger something, but it always catches up. So it's about being honest with yourself. It's good and all to be honest with the other person, but you got to be honest with yourself and making sure you are aware of what your behaviors are and how are these behaviors going to interact when you bring them into another relationship. Because I tell people all the time, when you go into a relationship, you're adopting their demons. Their issues will now become your issue. You know what I'm saying? So you got to know what you're allowing. If you're honest to goodness wanting to do this right, you need to be full upfront and transparent so they can make a intelligent decision if they want to move forward with you. Because if you push a false narrative, whatever you get back, you're going to get back. There's some crazy people out here. You mess with the wrong person, you might catch a lot of different outcomes. You might not be the toxic one. The other one might be a hell of a lot more toxic than you, and you're about to find out. So being upfront is a good thing. Being honest with the person is a good thing, but I think you need to be honest with yourself, number one. What you have, what issues, like Marcus said, what reoccurring behaviors you have, and what do you want? A lot of people go into relationships and have no idea what they want. Like, you have to be intentional with what you want. The flip side, how to prevent from being the one who is getting pulled into this is, like Keisha said, follow your intuition. You will get a gut feeling like, yeah, this don't feel right. This something is off. I don't know what it is, but something's off. I tell people your belly brain works much faster and more efficient than the one on top of in your head. So, and I call it the belly brain because they're the same nerve systems and everything in the different areas. And that's really where your instinctual response comes from. So when you get a gut feeling that something is off or something is not right, go with that. Number one. Number two, be honest with yourself again. Like, am I going to be able to tolerate these behaviors long term? If this is the best it's going to get with this person, is it what I want? You got to be honest with that. And number three, listen to the close people around you, because a lot of times when you go into a relationship early on, everything about that person is wonderful. You can't see any wrong in that person, but I bet you your close friends will. So, and not the ones who are the haters, you know who you can listen to and who you shouldn't, but be honest with yourself. Be open to listen to wise counsel, wise, not the ones who want to just get into your relationship and cause havoc. And trust your gut instinct of, you're getting a warning that this is not the way to go, and ask questions. Like, one of my favorite questions to ask is, if you came with a warning label, what would it be? And it's so interesting of how you can really unpackage what that person says to you, because it's a fun type of question, so their guards down, right? It's a fun question, so their guards down. So now they're going to think, this is fun. What warning label would I be? So now they're not looking or thinking about being in the defensive mode. So they're really looking at themselves, and they're going to give you an honest answer. And it's up to you to figure out, well, not figure out, but allow them to explain why they chose that warning label. And then you can really unpackage that answer to figure out, okay, they're giving you a warning label. Like, my warning label is I'll keep that to myself. Shut up. I'll keep that to myself. So, but ask questions, follow your intuition, and just really kind of be honest with what you want and what you can tolerate. And that's kind of my 2 cents. And as we close out, to give advice, to pick a side. Like, if you want to give advice to the toxic person or the one who's the victim of the toxic person, like, if you can give them one sentence word of advice to take after this, what would it be? Starting with you, Marcus.
Okay, to the toxic. Heal yourself.
All right, Keisha.
Run, girl, run.
Woo! Chris.
Stop it. Get some help.
And mine will be, is this really what you want? Is this really what you want? All right. So we're right at our hour. I want to thank our crew. Again, you can find us all at the website, www.thelookingglass.fans, Instagram, Facebook. I'm going to try to get our crew to start doing some, a little bit more interaction. I've kind of been lax on that, so I apologize. Life's been crazy, but I'm getting better. But hopefully the information here will be helpful in the way that you can kind of utilize it with yourself, with your family, with your friends, to make decisions that allow you to be in authentic, healthy relationships and healthy connections. So yeah, this is where we wrap it up. And as always, you guys take care, stay safe, be well.